Welcome back to positionstreet.com and Coaching Journey 1. We are good to be back. I know it's been a long break. That second lockdown just put us on hold for a while, and there's been a lot of changes within the club that we're working with, just due to the pandemic and people shifting around different age groups. So it's not been easy to keep the journey going. What we did do is we took a log of everything that we were doing, the practices, the games, and putting them into a folder so we could get back engaging with yourself and showing you what we're doing. Now, we've had some great comments, and I know we've had loads of messages asking when the journey is going to come back. So thank you again for your support. It's them types of messages that just keep us going and keeps us saving this content and putting it together to share with yourselves. You don't realize how many people are actually watching the videos till it's actually not there and people are wanting it back. So thank you again for the support. So looking at week 18, and we'll call this part 2 of the season, and hopefully no more parts. We're going to be working on the individual movements on the first session of the week. We're going to look at some out of possession stuff focused around compactness and then jump pressing from being in a compact state. We'll look at some in possession stuff, and we're going to really focus on playing through because we've got a couple of ideas of how we want to play against Liverpool. And then we're just going to have a real short game plan against Liverpool, obviously with it being our first game back. So let's move on. So since we've been back, what we've done is we've done like an 8-week plan. Obviously, this is just 4 weeks in front of you, and then we'll move on to the second 4 weeks. Now, what we'll do is over the journey, we'll probably do about 6 to 8 videos. So it'll cover these 8 weeks. So just looking at this, our return to training at the top here was just a really simple week. It was just a bit of conditioning work with the S&C coaches, loads of ball work, small group. So decided to just sort of leave that one out. And where we're going to start is this week here. So our prepping into Liverpool. Now, we're going to start off with some in-possession stuff, going into some out-of-possession stuff. And it says transition there, but we actually decided to work on some in-possession stuff because we were a little bit sloppy in here. And there was some stuff that we wanted to go after against Liverpool. So that'll be the first week that we'll talk about. Moving into the second week, we'll be leading into Arsenal. So really, really good game again there. So you can't ask for too big a games from returning after a bit of a break. So Liverpool and then Arsenal. Obviously, we've got the 2 games here. And this might be a week where we might just drop one game plan in. But again, we'll see how that goes after the second video that I put together. So moving on to the second 4 weeks. You can see here we've got some excellent games. So really, really challenging 4 weeks for the players and then for us as coaches, because as you can see there, we've got some really big games. We've actually got double game weeks. So the first one will be leading into Forest. And then as you can see here, we've got a Tuesday night game, and this was something that we arranged with Man City. So we wanted to do a double header, home and away, just do something slightly different for the players. So we've got Man City away, then leading into Man United. So challenging week again, like I said, but 2 great games. You can't ask for a better games program for that week. And then the week after is the return game against Man City, leading into Blackburn. Now what I'll say is Blackburn at the age group that we actually did the game with and put the training week together. They're one of the better groups around that we've seen. They're a real top side. The coaches are very good. They're well drilled. They've got some internationals in there. So, that game there is as tough as any other game in them 2 weeks. And as you can see here, leading into the last week that we'll talk about is Chelsea, and they don't come much bigger than Chelsea. And what I'll say is about that side there, the staff are very good. We know a lot of people there, the top staff. And with the age group that we'll be playing, I think there was 10 internationals within that setup. So real top side to finish the journey off with. So really good 8 weeks that we can run through. And like I said, we'll probably only do maybe 6 videos out of the 8 weeks, but we'll make sure that we that we give you plenty of content. Now, that should take us into the summer, and then we'll be starting back in pre-season. So what I wanted to ask you is, if you want us to do a coaching journey too, so it'll be the second season, if it's something that you want us to do, then just let us know in the comments, and then we can start to put things into place. If you don't want us to do that and you want us to look at some other projects, that's fine. You know, like I say, we put this together for our audience and to just engage with you guys and try share ideas. So if you want us to keep this going, leave your comments below and let us know. I've just dropped in the team identity and targets. The reason why I've put these in is because we're not going to use these as much with our game reviews. So when we look back at the games, you won't see this as much as what we did in the first part of the journey. A couple of reasons for it, because with them games that I've just showed you, especially myself, like I've been working across 2 or 3 age groups within this part 2. So what I didn't want to do is sort of keep trying to do the team identity and targets with each team when there's certain players in there that we've just brought in from other clubs who don't understand it. So I don't really want to use this too much. Alongside that, we're also trying something for the first team. So there's things that they're wanting us to do and clip and put together for the first team so they can have a look at stuff. So I might not have time to do all this. I will drop it into some games. If you don't know what this is and the team identity and targets, it's something that I believe in and something that I use all the time, and the coaches that work with us at position specific, and we love this. So if you don't know what it is, go and back and check some of the videos of the coaching journey, and it'll give you an idea on it. The only things that we didn't really go into too much was the attacking organization, of how we break up the individual stuff. Don't worry, we will present it to you. We've been tweaking our game philosophy and our individual sort of training model, which we've been putting together, which we'll share with you. We'll do maybe 3, maybe 4 presentations around our whole methodology. So on to week then, I won't spend too much time on this slide because we'll get into the session. So first session's in possession stuff. Just going to purely look at some attacking movements and then the detail of playing into the attackers. Session 2, we're going to look at some individual defending skills, move it into a rondo practice, and then a possession game around compactness, so press, cover, and balance. And then we're going to move into some playing through the opposition, and this is sort of tied in with some of the stuff that we wanted to see in Liverpool game. So session 1. So just looking at practice 1 then. So finishing techniques, and we're looking at movements beyond and below to beat the marker. We've got the detail here, the outcomes, so the performance wheels. If you haven't seen the performance wheels, so you don't understand what we mean by that, make sure that you check out one of the videos early in the journey where we talk about this. The physical outcomes down the right-hand side, and then obviously the session video in the middle. So really simple practice, and I think a lot of you will have seen this session before. So we have the midfielders and then attackers in here. When we were actually doing this, the defenders were off working with one of the other coaches, just doing some footwork and body shape and some little 1v1 stuff while we were doing this. So real simple practice. Ball comes in here as the player drops. We're looking for a clean touch and open touch, and then that triggers the movement of the forward. So he's holding the position behind the mannequin to then drop in here and try arrive at the same time as the ball. We're looking here at the detail of a driven flat pass into the attacker to get there quick. So really challenging these midfielders on the technique of getting the ball in there. It's a driven pass. So really want them to use the laces. If they're going to play with it inside, it's got to be punched in so it gets there quickly. Looking at a real tight touch, opening up to face the mannequin. A bit of the scanning stuff that we talk about as well is can they see the ball, can they see the mannequin, and then see the next move? So the next move is obviously the space behind. beat the mannequin any way they want. So it might be a little step over to go outside, and then they're looking to finish. And then we repeat the process the opposite way. So player drops in, nice tight touch, open up, punch the ball in, beat the man, get the shot in. And obviously these just rotate positions as we move through the practice. If you wanted to, as coaches, you can swap these over so that they get used to playing both positions. But for us, we just worked on midfielders and attackers. Part 2, same thing again, dropping off, ball punched in. Okay, same movement, but they hold now. So they get there slightly early and they hold. So it's to freeze the defender, and then they work across the mannequin. So the challenge for the passers here is to drive the ball at the mannequin. So take the tight touch, open touch, drive it at the mannequin. Okay, and then these players will work on the timing of getting across the mannequin to then go and score. Now, don't get too caught up on teaching the players good timing. All right, just give them the challenge of they must get there early, and then they must get across the mannequin at the same time as the ball. Their challenge is just to hit the mannequin. This stuff has got to be player led around timing. You know, that so for us, it's just making sure that they execute what you want, and then they start to work out the timing, because that's what they're going to have to do in the game. And you'll find that some players will come in and then they'll hold and then receive it. But what you're wanting them to do is be moving at high speeds. So it's like they're playing between the line, taking the ball across and looking to get the shot. So it really sort of disorganizes the opposition's defense, takes out that marker. So moving on to practice 2. So we'll just bring everything a little bit further towards the halfway line, open up the distances. So we're going to be working movements beside and then beyond. And then their passing technique, which is going to be longer into space. So it's the same movement. Distances are slightly bigger. It's a clean open touch. And then this player moves off the side to then go beyond. And then obviously the challenge is, can they see the ball? Can they see the mannequin, see the next move? And then what we do is we break from midfield into the box here to finish, which you'll see in the video now. And what we said to the players here is, because of the angle of pass, is to just go straight over the mannequin. So again, just aim for the mannequin and try and keep it as flat as possible. Worst case is on the inside of the mannequin. So if we get it wrong, try to aim on the inside of the mannequin so we can arrive. If it goes on the outside, chances are it's going to go out of play if they get it wrong. So over the mannequin or on the inside, but making sure that it's a flat pass. If you want to really challenge them, get them to do it left foot and right foot. Obviously here you're looking at the midfielder to set it in here and then go and be the third man who's joining in and finishing first time. If they do need to take a touch, that's fine, but you encourage them to play first time. So this one now, we're just saying when the ball comes in, both attackers will make the movements. So then this player's got a decision to make. Does he go across? Do they go this side? Midfielder still attacks the edge. So now you're attacking the box with 3. And then you can vary the cross now. So we're asking them to play the little lofted one to the back or pull it back. So we're just working different techniques and over different distances. Again, if you want to rotate the players, you can, not a problem. So this one now is when the ball gets played into here, instead of taking an open touch to set the movement, can the players just set off and give them an option to play first time? Now, this is one of the hardest passes to read as a defender. So what you might find with the opposition is the ball comes in, they'll start to, like, especially if they're switched on, they'll start to pick which players are looking for the longer passes. And it's obviously usually on an open touch. The hardest one to read is the first time ball. So what we were saying now is right, can we execute this same pass but first time? So the ball comes in and the player just sets off. So they see the weight of the pass, they recognize that it can play first time, just sets off. So that was one of the little progressions that we wanted to add. Same thing. So you're attacking with 3 and then finish. So looking at session 2, defending principles, individual and unit work. What we have done here is we've just changed the session template a little bit. So we've got the focuses here, medium load, so like the physical stuff and everything you want to get out the session. We've got the practice detail here. We've got the animation in the middle again. Then we've just got some coaching styles. So we just wanted to see what you thought and which one you prefer. So the reason why we did this is because I've been working with 2 or 3 coaches now. We've been working with myself. We just wanted to leave some sort of challenges in there. So if one coach was working on something, they could pick 3 ways of coaching. So command style challenges or Q&A. And this just made sure that like within the group of coaches, we're all working off the same language. And to give them different ideas. And the reason why it propped up is I was doing the finishing drills that you've just seen, and one of the coaches asked me about some of the stuff that I spoke about, the language. Now there's a lot of stuff within the club that we use language-wise, but these are just stuff that I draw to because it's part of my methodology. So we're still getting the same thing out of what the club want us to do. It's just sometimes I use the beyond, beside, below. So when the coaches are asking me, what I did is I put this template together and we just share this on the WhatsApp group so that we're just all speaking the same language. So have a look at it and tell me what you think. If you prefer this sort of session sort of setup, then this is what we'll use moving forward. If you prefer the other one, then we'll use the other one. So make sure you leave your comments in there below, and then we'll sort of go off what you say. So within this session, you've definitely seen this before. This is a go-to session for me. Real simple defending techniques. Get them in 2s, 4s, however you want to do it. First one is put the line down the middle, or you can have a cone where it's a reference point. The player will dribble at 50% speed, and your defender will work on the opposite side. Okay, so side on, shifting backwards. So you're really getting the footwork right, and it's just shadow defending, making sure that they get their arm out. Okay, the bum's down, and then the shifting backwards. So you're just going after the technique, but you're working on the footwork, body shape. When they get to the cone, they just change over. So then you're looking at how they twist the hips and then work on the opposite side. And you'll see defenders that they'll be really strong working one way, and then they might be weak the other way, or they might be able to work both ways, but then they can't get the changeover right. And I've got a couple of players now who are really, really good at 1v1 defending, but the struggle with the changeover with the hip rotation and the footwork. So it's some things that we need to work with, and that might be just due to they've just shot up or the body balance isn't right. So these sessions really show you what they're like with that. And then they just follow through to the end, and then you can give the ball to your partner, and then they work backwards. If you've got 4 players, just let them work there and back, and then the other ones can work. Part 2. So you'll work all the way down one side to the end, but when they get to the cone, it's a change of speed. So the defender will be working backwards, but then how do they adjust their body shape now to then get a sprint? So going from 50% to 100% while moving backwards. And it's about getting your back leg across your front leg and then getting into a sprint, but making sure you're chest on chest, not turning the opposite way. And then it's just a little race through. You can get the attacker to set off at any time if you want, but just use the central cone as the trigger to go to 100%. But if you wanted to get them to do it earlier, that's fine. This is some stuff that we do now because the lads are used to doing this session now. We start to get our players to, when they're sprinting, getting their arm across the attacker's chest, little things like that. So we've started to introduce stuff like that because the players are getting used to this now and the footwork's getting better. So like I just said there, you can change speed at any time once they get more developed to what you want. So now we'll just turn it into a little 1v1 game to finish off. So a little challenge for the red, get yourself a point if they get across this halfway line. 2 points if the player can pass it through the gate. So if you've got 4 players, you can have a player in between the gates, so they just get through and play it in the gate. If not, change it for little goals or dribble through the gate, whichever you want to add. And then if the white wins the ball in the top 2, it's 2 points. Win the ball in the bottom 2, it's 1 point. So you just turn it into a little competition. The reason why we have this point system like this is because we want the player to engage high and he gets rewarded for winning the ball high, because that's just how we want to play as a club and how I like playing as well. That would be a bonus point if they win it and play it into a player, gate, or goal. I think that's important with a lot of defending drills. Is if you're working in your defensive organisation, there's always going to be an attacking transition within that. So if you can tie that in with your drills, brilliant. Unless you just want your team to keep the ball out of play, and that's fine with however you want to play. So out of possession, 4v1 rondo. So it's just a little bit of an add-on from the last part. And this was something that we were just playing with because we needed to think about the players' load. They've only just been back in for a week. And obviously with a 1v1 start, it's quite physically demanding. Again, if you just want to look at the coaching styles down the right side, you can do. And then obviously the practice detail down the left. So really simple practice, 4v1. This is your distances here. I'll show you what happens. So 3v1 in here. And you can change this however you want. We had a minimum of 5 passes. You can go 1 touch, 2 touch, depending on the ability of the players. Once they've achieved 5 passes, then they'll look to play to the top player. So when the ball gets played into the top player, for this team to achieve a point, so the whites to achieve a point, they must get the ball back into the box here. But the player can't play it from the top box. He must get into this box here to pass or dribble. So again, you can tweak the point system. So you might say, if the player gets into the middle box and gets a pass, it's 1 point. If the player beats him and dribbles all the way in, it's 2 points. But we're focused on the defending stuff here. So you're looking at the deny, delay, deflect, defend. So the language that we use. So can they get out there now and win the ball? So you give them that distance. So it's that turnover in the transition. So now the ball's gone. Get out there quickly. Now, and then we're looking at this 1v1. Now, if the player wins the ball, then they become the defender. If they get in, it's a point, and the game carries on. And it's quite physically demanding for the player, especially if the players are good. So you might think about changing your session, like size, however you want to do it. You can maybe just do it so that the defender only defends 3 times maximum or 2 times. So just think about different ways, because everyone will have different problems with a session. And then I was saying there, they'll change over. One of the bits that we did add is, you see that when the player plays into top, they become the top player. Because the defending was actually really good, we actually allowed the player, before he came to the top, to come in the middle and create a 2v1, which was interesting, because then that really challenged the defender on showing them to play into here or cutting out the pass. So it was a real sort of challenge, and it's something that we'll play with and maybe adapt for next time we do the practice. And then onto the game. So it was a 4v8. We actually had 2 of these set up side by side because we had quite a few players. And it's really focusing on the defending skills and now how they sort of connect together now. So how they tie in. So the distances here, across here, whenever you're working in like a zonal press, or you're trying to work on unit work, like really, really good distances is like a maximum of 10 yards between. We looked at setting it up at 8 yards between. So it's a realistic distance to what we wanted within the game when we're in like a medium press, low press. So the whites would start from the keeper, build from there. We'd be working in these areas here, so we'll see in a second. And then they're trying to get the ball into the finishing zone, and we'll use the offside line here and scoring a goal. So if they go across this line too early, they're offside. And what we're looking at here is like go together, stay together, arrive together, fill the nearest 4 boxes to where the ball is. And because of the boxes, you probably kept it, well, we did keep a distance of around 8 to 10 yards between the units, which we're happy with. So if you look at the point system here, it's 1 point if they can work the ball into the attacking zone, and 2 points if they score. And then defenders, 1 point if they stop them getting in there, and then 3 points if they can get it and score. Then we started to look at when you can jump and how we're going to jump. So now you're looking at this of sort of coming around and filling the vital areas. I'll just rewind that slightly. So do we come now across and fill the 3 nearest? Yes, ideally if we can. If not, can they do half and half? So can they come between the cones? Because then what you're doing is if the ball gets played in, you can still get there because you're talking maybe 6 yards maximum. So these are just little things that you can help the players out in reference with the cones. And again, just becoming organised and looking for opportunities to press. We actually had some spare players which were doing some work, so we ended up putting an extra player in here for the Reds. So we had someone in front, so a bit of a target player to play into when they won it, but also to help them put pressure on the whites. So a really good session. We enjoyed that. We got a lot out of it. A lot of good feedback from the players, and by the end of it, the actual Reds were really difficult to beat. One of the things that I would say that caught us out early doors with no pressure on the ball over the top. So making sure that your players are side on all the time. So side on, ready to win the race. As soon as it's an open touch, get ready to drop. Just little things like that. So session 3, playing through the opposition. And we're going to look to create a box. This was something that we felt we might be able to hurt Liverpool with, especially looking at how they press with the 7-11 and then full-back jumping. And we wanted to bring our 7-11s into areas where the centre half either steps out once their full-back stepped, or their full-back then stays and doesn't jump press and goes inside. So it's just something that we wanted to play with, and we felt it might hurt the opposition. So a little drill that we've set up here. You can see we've got the 4 boxes in the middle, and then we've just got some players on the outside. Again, all the details are around the outside, so have a read of them. 2 players, 2 centre-halves. Actually, we had 1 centre-half on here, 1 centre-half. These were the 2 centre-backs that were going to be starting the game. And then we just mixed it up in here with a couple of players that we felt would play. And then we wanted to see which players would be working the box work better, so the connection stuff. And then we decided from there which ones would play. But because it was our first game back, we were going to be making changes every 20 minutes. If we were allowed to do it with a ref, we were going to have a chat with Liverpool. So we wanted to make sure that all our wide players were used to what we wanted, and the midfielders. So everybody was in this. So looking for opportunities. So we're looking from a 1 and a 2, but making sure that we always keep 1 area filled. So having a look at this, it didn't matter how we set it up, but we always made sure we set up an area where we could create a 4v3 in midfield. So the team in possession could roll someone in. The team out of possession must stay as they are. So 7-11 must stay on the outside when out of possession. On the inside, one of the players can roll in, not both. So as you can see, it's looking for opportunities now. So we've gone to a 2 and a 1 for the 7 to roll in. And now can the centre half find that player to then go forward? Ball comes in, and then the roles flip. So as soon as the ball goes into the top player here, now Reds are in control to create that 4v3 in the midfield. So it's quite a quick game, quite demanding. But again, now you're looking for opportunities, timing to roll in, open body shape to go forward, multiple ways of finding that overload. So as you can see there's multiple passes. Same, he's coming early this time. So the player's coming early, which is fine. Again, this could be something that you throw challenges in there. So you might say maximum 3 seconds in. And that's up to you as coaches on what you want to see. So the player rolls out, see how it affects the player here, and then the other one might roll in. So we're trying to get them to stay connected. So movements again. Great little session for connection work, breaking lines, body shapes to go forward, pattern plays if you want to add pattern plays in there as well. So that was our leading session. We had a couple of these set up side by side as well, but predominantly putting the players in one group who we felt that would be starting in them positions, and the players who would be coming on and replacing them, so everybody's clear on what we wanted. We then moved it into a bigger game. So as you can see here, we put the 2 goals in, and then we made a big box in the middle, 2 centre halves against the 9, 2 centre halves against the 9, and we had just 2 midfielders in there, just because we had a few players who couldn't do too much workload wise. So there's a few players that we had to miss, so we had to adapt the session, but we could still bring out what we wanted. So how obviously Liverpool play, you can the press with the 9, 7, 11. So you can create this little overload in here. So we said to our centre halves to play close to the 9 to make these distances short. Try to stay in between. So if the ball's there, stay in between these two so you're affecting both of them. So if they really do jump, then we can use the overload on the flank. And then we're just looking to, again, the same rules as before, like they're looking for timing to roll in. So you can see here now, so 11's rolled in. Now, obviously, we haven't got that third midfielder, but we're still working that connection between the 11-7. Centre-halves can come out. And then we had like an offside rule across this line here. So if you went too early, he was out. And then the game would repeat the other way. So again, you're giving players a lot of opportunities to show you that they understand what they're going after and trying to get themselves in a starting team for the weekend. So hopefully that makes sense. Good session. Players were really good at it. We felt that we was a little bit sloppy in some of the possession stuff early in the week. So we wanted to go back to some more in possession stuff. And then some of the video stuff that we looked at, we thought we could really hurt Liverpool with some of the stuff. Okay, just looking at the game plan then for Liverpool. What I'm going to say is this will be a real short game plan. It's only 4 or 5 slides. And it's just a bit of a recap for the players. We didn't want to give them too much information. We just wanted to say, right, this is how we're going to build. This is how we're going to press. And then we just wanted to manage it as the game was going on. Like I say, anybody who's been watching the journal will understand that we'd put quite a bit into our game plan, but this is just going to be a stripped down version. So we're going to work out of a 4-3-3 going into a box. So some of the stuff that we've been working on in the last session, which you've seen, we're really going to go after overloading that midfield area when in possession. And then out of possession, we'll work in a 4-3-3 and we'll work 2 presses. So just looking at how we're going to build in the attacking organisation. You've got the pitch to the left-hand side. We're in the yellow. They're in the red. Now, structure 1, when we're building, now this could be when our keeper's in possession, it could be a throw-in, it could be a dead ball situation. Really, really simple. All we're going to look to do is try to create the 2v1 against their wide forwards. Making sure that they keep the distances between the 18-yard box. So we still want them to work in between 44 yards across and working on the insides of the 7-11 so they can affect the 9 as well. So on the first line, you've got your 2 centre-backs with a keeper supporting below. Second line, you've got your full-backs and then your deepest pivot. Third line, you've got your attacking midfielders trying to work off the shoulder. And then fourth line, you've got our 2 wide forwards and centre-forward trying to pin back their 4. Now, how Liverpool usually press is they'll jump press with the 11-3 or 7-2. So we're aware of that. But the first thing is, can we stay in our structure and hurt them by overloading their two wide forwards? Structure 2, our left centre back becomes central, and this drops into like the personnel. So our left centre back who's playing in this game can also operate as a holding midfielder. So this is why we did that. And our left back can also left centre half. So this sort of balance works quite well. So the right centre back stays where they are, right back stays where they are. We go to a double pivot in midfield. Wide forward comes in to create that box, and then our left forward drops a little bit deeper. And then we look to try hurt them by playing through or around the opposition. And this just gives them something to think about, really. And knowing how Liverpool press from the outsides is, can we get that +1 in that midfield area? So when the centre-backs have got it, then we're really looking to see if we can get through them lines. If not, then we'll work the outside space. But we just wanted to see what it looked like, see if the players could see the pictures that we'd worked on in training. Structure 3, centre-backs back into the traditional spot. Their positioning can be slightly wider than the 44 now because we've got our two fullbacks inverting. So the two fullbacks will come in and be the deep pivots. Then you've got your midfield 3, so you've got an actual +2 in there. So there should be an extra passing option if the angles are right and the centre-backs see it. A couple of little things that we talked to the players about if we did this. Our two wide forwards, just making sure that they're still offering our centre-backs a wide option. So they might drop slightly deeper for our attacking midfielder to go beyond. All right, so just some stuff that we did talk about. But this was like really going after that central area. Now, we just give the players these 3 structures. We told them to go and play with it and go and see how it works. If it breaks down, it's our fault. It's not the players' fault. Just remembering that this is our first game back after quite a long break as well. So just looking at defensive organisation, high pressing. Anybody who's been watching the journey will know what's coming here. We're going to stick with the 2 simple presses that we work with and the players are familiar with. So it's a normal setup. What we're asking our central forward to do is divide the 2 centre-backs. So can you be between them 2? Can the wide forwards be between the centre-backs and full-backs? Midfield, find the mark. Defensive line, find the mark. And then the keeper, making sure that they're covering the space behind our defensive line. When the ball goes down one side, the job for the centre-forward is to lock the opposition in. And then ball side, so we're looking at our left midfield, our left forward, and our midfield is make sure that you find your mark and stay with them. Back 4 come across, and collectively as a team, we're looking to make sure that we fill 3 to 4 nearest channels to the ball. Our right forward's really important to this now, is because we want them to be aggressive with them and just leave their fullback. Now, if their centre half steps in and then hits the diagonal, then we've got to maybe look at changing the press or forcing it down the other way. But what we're looking to do now is making sure that we win the ball in the next 2 phases from this picture. Press 2 just starts with our centre forward setting the scene. So we'd usually do this once we find a weakness in their team. So if the keepers may be right-footed or left-footed and quite weak with the weaker foot, so we might force them down one way. So when the ball goes back to the keeper on the weakest foot, it might be that they have 2 right backs, 2 right-footed centre-backs. There might be 2 left-footed centre-backs, or one might be weaker than the other. So this is when we'll set this up. This can be triggered from the players or from us. So in this scenario here, the centre forward's gone to their left centre back, which is allowing their right centre back to get the ball. And then we're just going to jump press like Liverpool do against us. So when the ball goes in, left forward jump presses while cutting out the pass to their direct mark. Full back will go, back 3 will come across. And then the midfield, what we ask them to do is be on the inside shoulders to keep them locked in down one side of the pitch. If need be, if the centre-back's fixing well, you can get you right forward to drop onto the defensive line. It is quite physically demanding, but it can also help you out, and it can take away that pass from their centre-back stepping in and finding the 11. So they're the two presses that we're going to go with. And this can be in play, or it can be from dead ball situations. And obviously anybody who's been watching the journal will understand that we like to always operate out of a medium to high press. And we like to trigger these patterns that we've just shown you now. So coming next week, so we'll be moving on to week 19, and we'll get back into a regular pattern now. So we'll start off with a reflection on the Liverpool game. So we'll run through some of the stuff that we felt that went well, and then some performance problems. It was a cracking game. The boys did really, really well. What I will say is we went 1-0 down early in the game, so it was interesting to see if we could stick to our game plan. So we'll go through that early in the presentation. We'll then start to build in against Arsenal, which we got some video footage on them. So this was interesting because they played 3 or 4 different systems. I know some of the staff as well who are very good. So we had to make sure that we're on it in that training week going into Arsenal, because there was a lot of performance problems and there's a lot of information to give to the players. So really, really good training week on week 19. It's a very tactical week. What we will do as well is we'll start to drop double weeks in, because obviously I've got 6 to 7 weeks to run through, and we'll start putting in a couple of presentations in a week once season's sort of come to an end and I've got a little bit more time. But thank you again for your support and for all the messages that you were sending out and asking for the journey to come back. Just remember, if you do like the journey, make sure that you subscribe if you haven't yet subscribed. Turn on them notifications so you're the first to see the next journey or any of the videos that we upload. And most importantly, show your love and press that like button. Thank you again, and we'll see you next week.